Hey, and welcome back to our channel. This is part 3 of 3, where we have been going through this argument that we had a little while ago, very recently.
In fact, we had another one right before filming this video. I'm telling you, our marriage has been under attack. And I know that if our marriage is under attack, the enemy is also attacking your marriage in some kind of way. And so we're sharing today in this episode what led us to the place of falling into that argument to begin with.
Yeah, how can we have a great marriage? How can we have great communication and then all of a sudden be on completely different teams?
Divided.
All of a sudden be divided from each other and in arguments.
And then over a week's time, I'm like feeling disgust. I'm feeling like, how can I live with you? And
do you experience this in your marriage where you just cannot connect with your spouse anymore? You can't see their point of view. You can't see their side of things anymore. You're having arguments, disagreements all the time.
If you're like me, you just felt hurt by the whole interaction, and I just wasn't clear from it. I hadn't been cleared, and it was festering in the background. And so last week we talked about spiritual warfare and how that played into it. And so this week we're going to talk about the 4 areas of life, which are also the things I'm attracted to in you, and how we allowed some of those areas in our life to become depleted, opening us up for a spiritual attack, depletion, and an argument.
Isn't that something how you're talking about these areas of life that my attraction level can go up and down?
That's right. Did you know that there's 4 areas of your life that your spouse is either attracted to or unattracted to? And the best part about that is I am the only one that can improve these areas of life.
You're the only one, yes.
Which means it's up to me to be attractive to you.
It's up to you. It's up to you to do the same thing.
Ever had circumstance after circumstance after circumstance thrown at you that makes you mentally, emotionally, physically drained? Have you experienced that? I know that for me, it's when circumstances are coming at me that life seems to get a little out of control. So in those 4 areas of life, we have learned that it's my responsibility to keep those areas filled up. And the more that I am filled up, the more attracted you are to me. And that's because I am whole and complete. And I'm sure if you've been watching our videos, you hear us talk about becoming whole and complete. It's actually one of our courses that we offer that is hands down my favorite course because it teaches people how to be whole and complete. So let's just go back to what was going on for me during that time where I was open to an attack and to an argument. So that week, to make a long story short, I had nothing but technical issues being thrown at me. I couldn't export our videos. I wasn't able to import audio. I couldn't get them lined up. I was losing files. It was one thing after another. My computer was freezing up and
yours might be the health diagnosis, the bad news from the kids, the wayward child, the parents that aren't doing very well right now. There's so many circumstances in life that each of us experience.
Right.
And that's what you were experiencing was life.
It was just life
circumstances.
Happening. That's right. And as we have become more whole and complete, arguments happen less and less because the more whole and complete I am, the more I am able to respond out of love to you.
Rather than react out of fear.
Exactly. And so in that time of just having all these circumstances, we went on this vacation and I spent 10 hours working on one video. And I had just, at that point, was very mentally and emotionally drained. And so come the mics not working again, when I had high expectations, that they were going to come through for us, they were going to work. And then when they didn't, immediately in my already depleted emotionally, depleted physically, because I was so intellectually depleted, I reacted to you and feeling like you were not listening to me and I'm feeling unheard. And I really became a victim, which opened me up for a spiritual attack as well.
Yeah, I'm listening to you speak and I'm thinking about myself, spiritual, physical, emotional, intellectual. I was depleted in all those areas too.
All of them.
What you're referring to is when you're whole and complete, life happens for you. But when you're depleted, it's like life happening to you.
Yes.
It's really what it seems like. It's what it feels like. But, when you're whole and complete, you have a big view world. You have a big view of the world, a big view of where you are in the world, a big view of really how important and significant these circumstances are or are not. Mm-hmm. When you have a bigger view of it, when you're more whole and complete. But when you're not, when I'm depleted, man, it's like the things that are happening are intentional and,
why is this happening to me?
That's the question that usually comes up is why me? Why me?
Yeah.
But why not you? It's the world, and we live in a fallen world, and the little g god of this world is Satan.
Right.
In Romans 12:2 it says, "Do not conform to this world. Be transformed by the renewal of your mind." And that's what happens as we get conforming to the world of circumstances, woe is me, and start depleting ourselves in all these areas. So spiritually, I feel like for the last 2 months, I've not been connected like I should be to God.
Same, yeah.
Physically, I feel like I'm not exercising like I would really want to be, and I'm not eating as properly as I really want to be. Emotionally, I don't feel like we have been connecting as deeply with each other and sharing
On a
our
regular
emotions
basis. Yeah.
like we have in the past.
Right.
And then intellectually, I feel like I was fine. And so 3 of my 4 areas I feel pretty depleted in
Right.
already before going on this trip.
And I would say for me, the only one that was not depleted was my physical. Because I was running every morning, I'm taking good care of my body, I'm eating the things that my body does well with.
Yeah.
And so that's the first time.
She inspires me. Way to go.
Thanks.
I really
I've been
appreciate
on
that.
fire about it. And it was cool to see that I had one area filled up, right? And that one area sustained me. Because we went through this week of vacation now, and now I'm even more depleted in every area, but I kept up my physical. And I feel like it kept my energy up. It kept me feeling good at least. And I was so grateful for that.
Yeah, every morning you were in the gym.
Yeah. And so then fast forward to when we get home, I realized right away, wow, I am so depleted. And I even asked you, I was like, I'm going to need several days to fill myself back up. And you were asking me what I need. And that's where taking personal responsibility for me is I can't expect him to help me get better. I have to take that responsibility. I am the only one that's going to care for me the way God designed for me to live. And so I have to look for ways that are going to fill me up. And spiritually, I know I need alone time with God, uninterrupted for I don't know how long. Because I need to be first filled up spiritually. And when I'm filled up spiritually, it sustains the other areas. And I think that was one of the biggest red flags is my spiritual had gotten depleted because I hadn't had alone time with God. I was still spending time as a family, but it wasn't the same for me to connect.
It's not the same.
And be filled up and be satisfied.
That's a good point. It's not the same because we still were doing daily devotions. We were still praying. We're still, encouraging each other in the Word.
Yes.
But there's a difference when you're really getting connected, individually, independently with God. Intimately. That's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so now you have 2 people depleted. Oh, that's where we spent the majority of our marriage.
Yes. Anytime someone's depleted, they don't want to be depleted, so they're looking for ways to fill themselves back up, and usually it's in unhealthy ways if they're not getting vertically filled up from God.
That's when the attraction goes.
It does.
And plummets. Because when we start looking for things to fill us up outside of God, there's a need for taking care of myself physically, but I don't need to give in to the physical desires of my flesh. That's not taking care of myself. That's not working on me. So when I allowed my spiritual category to dip, knowingly that was happening, I think it opened me up for the other areas. I just wasn't strong enough to get through all the circumstances that were coming at me. And seeing now both of us depleted. And that's where we spent the majority of our marriage, and why we couldn't get along, why we couldn't share our marriage together, share life together. It makes perfect sense. And so we are sharing all of this to have you look at yourself. This is some time for you to reflect and look at, how am I doing in these 4 areas of life that either attract my spouse or make me unattractive to my spouse?
Imagine that those 4 areas of your life are like the tires of your car. And when they're fully inflated, the ride's good. But man, when one of those gets flat, it's a bumpy ride. You're going to get thrown into the ditch. It's just not going to be a comfortable experience. And then when more starts going low and starts getting flat, like I had 3 flat tires out of 4. I don't have a good experience. It's not a good ride. Physically, internally, it's the same way. I'm not doing good. Neither are you. You're not doing good either. If you're depleted, you're not doing good. And I love what you said. It's our responsibility to take care of that. What do I need to do to take good care of myself? Spiritually, I like what you said. You need to go be alone with God. I need to go out walking with some headphones on and worship music. I need to be connecting with God through that way, or in nature that just fills me up. Emotionally, I want to have good, intimate conversations with you in a safe place, and us
sharing about this.
Yeah, share back and forth. This creates intimacy. You know, emotional safety plus openness equals intimacy, and that's what we have doing that.
Right.
Physically taking good care of myself, taking good care of yourself, eating properly, getting your gut to feeling good again.
Drinking water, hydrating, important.
That's so important. To take good care of yourself. Sleep is important.
Getting good sleep.
Thank you for saying that.
What's really interesting and what we noticed through this process is that I looked back at our marriage and I was able to see why I fell out of love with you. And it was because all 4 areas were just completely depleted.
Yes.
There was nothing in you that was attractive to me.
Yeah.
And
it makes sense.
On the flip side, I watched you take control of your life, and I watched you flip it around. You started working on your physical body and getting stronger and learning knowledge, intellectually growing and becoming a better person, and emotionally connecting with me. And for the first time, I was seeing you spiritually connect with God. Yeah. And I'm like, hi.
Started blowing those tires
up. Who are you?
Let me tell you the reason. I'm glad you brought this up. Thought, feeling, behavior loop. Thought, feeling, behavior loop. That's the reason. Is because when I have a thought, like, I'm unworthy, or I'm not good enough, or I'm a failure, then I'm going to have a feeling. And that's going to lead to a behavior. The behavior is I'm going to act unworthy. I'm going to act like I'm not good enough. And then that's what's happening to me. When I'm depleted, my actions don't line up with you being attracted to me.
Right.
They absolutely don't. When I'm feeling worthless, when I'm emotionally like, oh, I'm no good, it doesn't send attraction signals to you.
No, it's so unattractive.
Yeah.
And I saw that just in our argument from last week. I believe the Lord allowed us to go through this attack because it definitely was an attack on our marriage. We're in the middle of writing our book, and we were in the middle of writing about this very thing. And I feel like God took all of that, turned it for good, and gave us a window into that part of our life and what it was like, and also gave us healing today from our past. And what was so cool about that is when we started to get clarity and started to have communication about this, and taking it up and taking it into prayer, we had a totally new perspective for each other. And there was so much intimacy there.
Yeah.
And that's what's available for you. But it takes being personally responsible in the 4 areas of life.
Let me say how hard that was for me to do, because you may be sitting there saying, that sounds amazing. It sounds reasonable. It sounds like that's what I should be doing, but I don't feel like I should, or it's your fault. That's where I was. I had such a hard time to take personal responsibility because it's easier to be a victim.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to be a victim in life and say, well, it's because of this person or that organization that I am this way. You said this, that's why I am this way. Mm-hmm. And that's just not taking personal responsibility. That is Genesis 3 right there. That's the same thing happened to Adam and Eve when they sinned and they went and hid from God, and God comes to them and says, what happened? And Adam says, the woman that you gave me. Mm-hmm. That's all deflection to something else. And then she goes to him. God goes to Eve. And she says, the serpent made me. But listen, what's awesome and what we need to do is take personal responsibility of It's my heart, my body, my actions, my emotions, my feelings. I need to take control of this so I can figure it out.
Yeah. So if you've been asking yourself, why isn't my spouse attracted to me? You may have some work to do. There may be some things in those 4 areas that you need to take a look at.
Yeah.
So that you can be your best self, so that your spouse has something to be attracted to. And I know walking through betrayal for us was the hardest thing to go through, especially in those 4 areas. I feel like, man, they got wiped out. And I had to work at it. I had to strive to keep growing because it was so much easier to just wallow in my pain and sit there and just allow life to happen to me.
That's good.
But that's not what God had for me. That's not what God has for you. He has something so much bigger, but there's work that you need to do first. So I just encourage you, really step into that space. Look at your life. Look at the areas that you can really improve so that you can be your best self.
So just taking a 1% shift in your life. You know what? Physically, mentally, spiritually, or intellectually, there's these areas that I really want to improve. Just do something. Take a 1% shift. As you do that over time, you become more and more who it is you actually want to be.
That's right.
Over time, consistently, you're going to build more trust with your spouse. Consistently, you're going to build up your attraction with and for your spouse when you're doing this.
Yes.
It's who God called you to be. Fill yourself up. You're called to be a whole and complete person. Otherwise, you're going to be expecting someone else to complete you. And in marriage, we're meant to complement each other, not complete each other.
So to help encourage you take your next step today, we're including a free downloadable PDF where you can go evaluate your 4 areas of life and attraction so that you can discover what are the areas that you really need to improve so that you show up more attractive and more whole and complete. So coming to a close, we hope that this 3-part series has given you a little insight into what's normal in marriage and some tools on how you can work through it to get to intimacy on the other side of arguments and disagreements. If you got something valuable out of this series, we would love for you to put it in the comments below so that we can connect with you and get to know our audience. Thank you for sending in your questions. This helps us know what you want to hear so that we can make more content that you want. So we'll put a link here. If you have a question, we encourage you, go submit that. And if we choose your question to be answered on our channel, we'll send you a free gift of one of our courses that will support you best in your marriage.
We are excited to introduce to you our online community called Rebuilding Marriage Chapter by Chapter. It's designed to help you heal from betrayal and rebuild your marriage. We will be offering a wealth of resources, advice, workshops, personal stories, exercises, and so much more. This is in a private setting where you can connect with other couples who understand exactly what you're going through. We believe that healing and rebuilding marriage incrementally is much like turning the pages of a book, so we wanted to create a unique opportunity for a transformative journey, chapter by chapter, as we write our book. Our desire is to help each couple rebuild trust, nurture emotional connection, and cultivate a much stronger foundation in your marriage. We want to support you every step of the way in your healing. And as we write this book, we will be using this community as a test audience for the content that will be in this book. We will be sharing the exercises, journaling topics, and other activities that we have found really helpful in our own healing journey. We want to make sure that the book the Lord has called us to write is as helpful as possible for couples who are struggling to rebuild their marriage after betrayal. And we believe that as we go through this content, it will help you heal in a God-honoring way, surrounded by other couples all doing the work to have lasting healing. So we would love for you to join our community today and be a part of this transformative journey in your own marriage. So you can click the link below in the description to find out more.
Thanks for joining us on this episode. Bye.
Bye. I don't like it on my arm during the video because it starts tickling.
Hey, and welcome back to our...
You think you're funny, don't you?
Hey, and welcome back to our channel. This is part 3 of 3, where we're going to... No.
Why do you put a word so close after channel? There's like no period.
Okay. Hey, and welcome back to our channel, period.
Yes, thank you. Let's just talk about how, I'll jump in. So the first area that, this is not coming, are going to make steps to work that out, no matter what. Where am I going with that?
I don't know.
What was it you just said? And in those 4 areas, where am I going with this?
I don't know.
Say what you said again, because I'm going somewhere with this. Oh, how I got depleted.
Yeah. Do a 1% shift. Just take a 1% shift.
Oh. Just taking a 1% shift is all it takes.
That's it.
That over time, we're farther apart. How's that work?
Yeah, a 1% shift. That way, over time, as you go, it is further and further apart. Like you're gaining more, and like you're becoming more and more who it is you want to be.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I was like, I only do that analogy in drift. So I was like, well, what happens when they get further apart?
You're becoming more who
You
it
do
is
it.
you want to be. Okay,
You do it.
I got it. Yeah. And please continue to keep sending in your questions.
This helps us know what you want to hear.
Okay. Please continue to keep, no.
And
Please,